Welcome to Relics Radio, your favorite weekly podcast dedicated to the metal detecting and treasure hunting community. Here are your hosts, Ken from Adventures in Dirt and Tony from 5280 Adventures.
Hey, welcome to another Relics Radio. DK here from Adventures in Dirt, coming to you Thursday night. Boy, good to see a lot of you guys rolling in. Welcome. Been looking forward to this show for quite some time now. Glad to have our guest on with us tonight. But first, I want to introduce my co-host to you. You know him as Mr. 5280 Adventures. Tony, how are you, man?
Good morning. How's it going?
Good morning. Oh, it's feeling a little bit like nighttime to me. I got to be honest.
Well, it is. It's been a long day. Another great Thursday night. I'm super excited. We just got started, right? We've been on a minute 35. You see how many people are already joining us?
Yeah, I do. It's pretty awesome. Thanks everyone for joining in. We'll be watching that chat. You guys need to be asking questions tonight, right? It's not too often we have Steve Moore on with us from Garrett, talking about a new machine coming out, everything going on over at Garrett. So get your questions together. We'd love to see them post up. We'll highlight them and we'll make sure we get them in front of Steve. Because really tonight's all about you, the end user, and what you're actually interested in this Vortex machine that's come out by Garrett. We're excited to have him on for sure. Any quick announcements that we want to talk about?
Just want to say lots and lots of good things to talk about tonight and important things. In fact, we're also doing something pretty big tonight with this whole interview. So we're giving away a Vortex.
And we're giving away one of the VX9s. That's so generous of Garrett and Steve. I tell you, that's pretty crazy. But at some point, we're going to ask you to type in a phrase with a hashtag in front of it. So hashtag, and then we're going to give you a phrase to type out. And when Tony does, you go ahead and type that in. You only need to do it once. If you do it more than once, you don't get any extra entries. The program we use to randomly pick a winner will eliminate any duplicates. So make sure it's going to be hashtag, no blanks, no spaces after that hashtag, and then some phrase. I'm not going to give you the phrase yet. You have to stay tuned for that.
Yep. Sometime tonight. We'll get to it. Yeah. Other than that, I don't think we have any announcements, honestly.
No, I think so. Let's get to our guest.
Yeah, let's do it. Mr. Steve Moore from Garrett Metal Detectors.
How you doing, guys? Steve, how are you, man? Doing
well.
Doing good. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for giving us some of your time and coming on talking to our audience.
Oh, pleasure to be back with you again. It's been a little while, but it's always fun.
Yeah, thanks, man. You've been out traveling a lot. Like I've been, watching the antics of Steve Moore here and there on social media, and it looks like you've been doing a little bit of traveling.
Yeah, got around a little bit this year. Most recently, we went out to California. We had the Garrett Gold Challenge out there with Freddie Dodge as our celebrity guest judge, and we had a couple days out, hour and a half or so from Fresno, not too far from Yosemite National Park. And of course, you had Sacramento, and that whole area up there was the real gold rush back in the day. And had good weather, a little bit chilly a couple days, got hailed on and sleeted on. But I think most everybody there found some nuggets. I tested the Vortex out there, ran the Axiom a lot, played around with the GM24K. So had multi-frequency, single frequency, pulse induction. So we tried it all. And we'll have some videos coming out about that pretty soon, but that was a good time.
What was the dirt like up there? It tends to get a little mineralized in places.
It was, like Jerry McMullen was one of our guys from Jerry's Detectors up in Boise, and he was shocked. He'd never done much California gold hunting, and he said, man, there's a lot more red dirt than I expected here. And it was pretty mineralized. So the multi-frequency definitely, played a factor when you get to the mineralized dirt like that. So it was fun to test. It was fun to try that environment out. And I found my first California gold nugget.
Oh, man, really?
Whoa.
That's cool.
I've panned some gold there before, but a little bit of flour in the pan doesn't amount to much,
Right. It's nothing like a picker or a nugget. You know what I mean? Like there's just something special about that. Gives you the chills every time you do that. That's cool. Were you are you able to say what river you're in? Were you in the Yuba or the Feather or something like that? Or
Yeah, I mean, we had a good crew out there and a good competition and a lot of fun. They were playing it up to see who could win Freddie's trophy and win the honors. But we had some greenhorns that won the contest through one of the local guys, Brian Thomas, that put it on. And we had some more well-known people like Pioneer Polly and Dan Hurd, some of the big prospectors on the channels. And these guys were going at it head to head. So I had fun just playing around and watching some of the event during the weekend.
Great.
That's always fun when you have both experts and newbies, kind of like, it's a good mix. And Freddie Dodge, I've never met him, but I understand he can be quite a character.
He's a character. He's got a good sense of humor. He's actually pretty laid back, pretty easygoing dude. And just he doesn't have a lot of, persona like you think some guy that's on TV is going to have, like, oh, you know who I am. He just kicks back and hangs out with everybody else. And he had a fun time. He got to detect a little bit. And like you said, the newbies that weren't as experienced, there was one a little bit older couple that drove all the way from Texas, and they found a nugget with the Axiom, and they were thrilled. They had a ball. So that's what it's all about. I mean, it's like anywhere you go hunt, you just know you're going to crush it, and you're going to find 15 silver coins today. At the end of the day, you find nothing. It's all about the hunt. It's about being outdoors. And sometimes it works out and you find some killer stuff. And if not, hopefully you're just enjoying what you're doing,
It's amazing. Ken and I just recently were with a pretty well-known TV personality person, and same exact thing. Real down to earth, sat back with us, laid back. And it was more about just the environment, the situation, took it all in, and it wasn't about the finds at all. It was pretty amazing. So makes a big deal.
He was really into it too. He was like on his
gosh.
phone trying to research something we just found and what year did this come from, and go back and forth with his producer. You want to make sure he didn't get anything wrong. So yeah, it's cool when you meet those.
You got to like that.
Go down there.
Absolutely.
We've also seen the flip side of that. So I definitely prefer that when they're down there.
Yes,
for sure. Cool. Thanks everyone for joining us. Relics Radio Thursday night here. Tony and I are both up in Colorado. Whereabouts are you, Steve? Are you in Texas or are you elsewhere these days?
Yeah, I'm in the North Texas area. Home base for Garrett is Garland, Texas, which is part of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And I'm just north of there, up close to Denton, for anybody that's been to the Dallas area. And it's great. I mean, I love it. It's finally getting to be a little bit cooler here. May get some ice on the ground tonight or some frost. So the heat's finally leaving us.
I was going to ask you, what is the weather they're doing in the fall and early winters?
It can get cool in October, or it can be 80s and 90s still. And we had a pretty warm fall. So all the leaves are coming down now. The colors have changed. And if we get any snow or ice, it's usually in January. But, December's cooler. All the nasty things in Texas, the spiders, the snakes, the ticks, and the ants are finally going down. So now we can get out in the forest a little bit. And I'm hoping to get in a couple relic hunts here before too long.
Yeah, Ken, did you hear that? They might get some frost later on.
Might
frost. We've had 3 snowstorms in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, my daughter lived in Denver for years, and it's like every time she moved apartments or something, it was always like 20 below, ice, snow. So next time she moves, she's in Texas now. It won't be so bad.
There you go.
That's my daughter this weekend. Yep, we're moving her, and same exact thing. We're supposed to be in the 30s and 20s.
Yep. Great. Yeah, the dirt here usually gets hard as a rock, and unless you get up to the mountains. If you get up in the mountains where they got all that pine needle scatter, then it protects the soil pretty good, and it also mixes in and gets to that loamy soil so that it's really easy to dig. And man, there's nothing better.
You've got a pretty good period, I guess, where you really can't break the ground open without a pick out there, right?
Good stuff.
We tried one time. We remember we were out on that one hunt.
The stagecoach stopped.
Yeah, Tony and I both had like new detectors in our hands. So we were trying it for the first time, these new detectors. And I swear I got a killer signal. And I was just like, chink, chink. And I'm a kind of heavy guy, all my weight on that shovel. And I was hurting my foot so bad because I just couldn't get it through. So it was sort of a screwdriver so I can get the tip of the shovel in. And then once I wiggled it around and got down, so it was like 15, 20 minutes for a target.
Oh.
And then it'd be like a pop can or something.
Yeah, right.
Shoot.
Or you end up putting a pick through it and breaking up a good coin. So it's tough when the ground's hard like that.
It is, but we don't want to quit, especially if we got some cool place like a stage stop to detect. You get those permissions, you're like, I don't care. We're going to bring a blowtorch or something. We're going to do it.
Warm it up.
That's it.
Yep. So, hey, you got something going on at Garrett now, something about a new metal detector that's coming out. I don't think anybody's heard about it yet.
Yeah, this long-awaited Vortex is finally starting to ship out. Ripley's, believe it or not, called the press, went on a little longer than it should have, but we ended up late in the game deciding to make some modifications, including on the back case. A few things I think are good for the long haul for, the shallow scuba divers and underwater guys. Better for the audio, better for watertight integrity. So I'm happy we did that. And along the way, we've added a few more features beyond what we announced back in June originally. And it's an upgradable machine. So that means we don't have to stop once it's released. So we can talk about that a little bit tonight too, if you guys have any questions along those lines.
Yeah, I think that's a very cool feature, actually. That whole, difference. We'll definitely talk about the difference between updatable and upgradable, because the upgradable part's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, right? Tony and I both were watching the workup, the promotion and the marketing leading up to the release of the Vortex. Anytime there's a new machine on, since we're in this podcast and representing the community, we're always excited about it. And how many people just were calling it the Storm? Like, everyone thought for sure it was going to be the Garrett Storm. I know Tony and I were both shocked when the first was released that it was the Vortex. You had to be tickled pink. Like, you guys had to be behind the scenes going,
oh yeah, we had fun. We had the little hat with the Storm patch on it. And then of course we peeled that patch off and put the Vortex patch on there. But
that's great.
I saw that. I said, man, as a team, as an inside track on the team, it had to be so fun for you guys. Just be like, oh, wait till they see it's the Vortex.
It's fun. I mean, we looked at all kind of options on names and all that, even looked at options on the colors. I like blue. I think it's cool. I mean, there's been some high-end blue prospecting machines in the past. White's had some blue in the category. But, something we haven't done in a long time. We've had yellow and black and green. And, once you get into it and realize the power of what this multi-frequency has, it's beyond where Apex was. It's, what we call the multi-dimensional multi-frequency. So it just felt like it needed a new look, a new feel that would stand out in the field, and kind of cool for underwater use. So I'm happy with it. I love the color.
Yeah. Go into that multi-dimensional multi-frequency. Kind of explain that a little bit, how it's different from maybe something else that's already been out there. It's all new technology, right?
Sure. The whole multi-frequency it's a different animal. It's kind of the hot trend in the past few years, but single frequency, in a lot of cases, you can go over, some bottle caps and different things and iron pieces, and they sound inherently kind of scratchy or junky, or, that iron tone, the growl to them. The multi-frequency, you have more controls and more finessing that comes into play there. But the beauty of what you're getting is a variety of frequencies working in harmony there, which helps overcome, ground challenges, target ID. And with our multi-dimensional multi-frequency, it's not only analyzing the soil content, but the target content, as well as its ferrous and non-ferrous properties. So you're getting that, which results in stronger target ID and better representation of what the target is. And as I mentioned, going to California, I played around with the 25 kilohertz, which is really good in neutral dirt, and some of the air tests, of course, on tiny pieces of gold, like 0.06 or 0.19 or something, very much sub-gram stuff. But once I got up there in some of this hot red dirt, I found out differently. I found out the dirt was hot enough that comes into play against a single frequency detector, and the MDMF took over. I mean, we literally had our first gold nugget found with the Vortex on that trip, which is really cool. And it made me a believer in the MDMF for the prospecting realms of that. Now, I'll be more excited to try that again down the road once I get a smaller coil size on it. But even with the Raider size coil, we were able to scratch out some good targets with it,
Yeah,
I think that was one of the questions that we were going to talk about is our coils for sure. You'd mentioned a smaller coil on it. It comes standard with 8.5 by 11, right?
Right.
And then you've got 5 by 8, 6 by 11, 14 by 11. Kind of, they're on the website already. Is there in the works for like the small puck, the 4.5, or anything for the Vortex?
Good question. I don't know on that one at this time. We're still working through the last variations on some stuff on the base. And once that's done, then we'll, get into getting the coils out that have already been promised. Mm-hmm. I would expect probably the Viper coil will be the most popular as the second coil. It's got the length, for coverage, but it's got the skinny maneuvering ability that it's been really popular with the Ace, with the Apex, and the AT series. I expect that'll be the first one out the chute before too long here. And the 5 by 8, the Ripper we call it, I think that would be ideal for prospecting, for urban hunting, real trashy environments. And, if you're going to do river hunting where you got a lot of cracks and crevices and rocks, I would probably go with the 5 by 8 or the 6 by 11 Viper. And then the bigger one, the 14-inch, the Reaper, that's going to be more for your big fields, going deep, getting, deep targets, covering a lot of ground. The smaller ones, to me, are usually a little more preferred in the urban hunting environments, or if I was to go to a stagecoach stop or something like you guys go to.
Come on out, Steve. We'll put you on something.
Yeah, for sure. You get out in those fields like in Ohio, you want that big, huge coil, cover as much ground. But where we're at, everything seems to be pretty concentrated, those iron patches, and that's what you want to pick through. I love that 5 by 8. That's a beast of a coil. I absolutely love that coil.
Yeah, especially when you're getting into, splitting up targets in real trashy iron infested areas. It's almost as good as a sniper size coil. So to that end, the hockey puck, the 4.5-inch, it may be something to think about, but the 5 by 8 does just about as good as that hockey puck does, in my opinion.
I was never a big believer in the smaller pucks, man, until I started using one. And it was just like, wow. That is a game changer, man.
But it makes you slow down because you're really you're trying not to cover a lot of ground. You're picking through slow and low. And it really, surprisingly, it mentally overcomes you, and you have to slow down or else you're just going to miss everything. So,
Yeah, but the size on that, you're right, to get to the hockey puck or the 5 by 8, it's really preferred in certain environments. Like, for instance, if I got just a couple hours to kill here in the city, I'll go hit a park or schoolyard or something that hadn't been hit in a long time. And with the Vortex, I have to really turn it down with the 8.5, 11. The swings, the metal poles and stuff in the playgrounds. I mean, I'm picking them up a foot, 2 feet away, unless I click it down to 3 or 2 bars. So with the small coil, I'll definitely like to go back and hit a few of those places. But I usually do pretty good at picking out jewelry in some of those places, even with the big coil.
Oh, yeah. You remember I found those. So we were in a Civil War era. Okay, we're here in Colorado. So we had soldiers here from sort of mid 1850s all the way through, right? Protecting sort of travelers and pioneers and such. And we found this little camp. Tony and I were able to discover this little camp where these cavalry soldiers were stopping and hanging out. They seemed to drop all their crap because we found tons of good stuff there. But I ended up finding these little needles, man. These little tiny needles.
Sewing needles.
Little ones, like 7 or 8 of them. I mean, the soil here in Colorado is so gentle on relics. Like, we can't state that enough. Preserves them so well.
We're so lucky.
And for those little needles to survive that long, they were definitely part of a kit. There was like a pristine eagle button real close by, and a little puck coil, man, did it for me. I was able to pull those out. Couldn't believe it.
Sounds like a pretty awesome sight.
Yeah, loved it.
It was great. Yeah, over in the chat, Don't Tread on Me Metal Detecting says, can you still use the Nels type coils on the new Garretts?
I know there's aftermarket ones, Nell and people like that make it for ATs and some of the other detectors. With the Vortex, I don't know. I mean, those guys will probably have to do their homework to sync up to what's there. I don't know if they've even advertised a Vortex accessory coil yet. I'm sure they will. They've got a history of making coils for every brand, including, Garrett brand.
But those old Nels, they're not going to be compatible with the new system in the Vortex. You're going to have to come out with a Vortex compatible one.
I would say 99% sure on that. I wouldn't say it with certainty because I haven't tried it, but it's a different coil. I mean, you can't put an Apex or an AT Max coil on a Vortex. The MDMF is just radically different technology, so it's not going to take any of our previous coils. So whatever you get with the Vortex will be made for that series.
Are the headphones the same? Is there any interchangeability with headphones? Or I thought I heard somewhere that maybe the Vortex has their own.
I happen to have the waterproof set here on the unit. I don't know if you can see the back of that, but the connector on this for waterproofing is different. So if I can undo the little connector here with one hand, it's a different little plug there, 1/8-inch plug, and you've got little collar here that's going to screw into the back, so that's going to give it good connection, good watertight integrity. But you can also put we've got an inexpensive set of Easy Stow headsets with the 1/8-inch plug that can go in there, but this will be a nice little seal for the back. Some folks that struggle to get the 2-pin system in on an AT Pro, this guy just slides right in, screws in, easy as anything can be. So that's going to be nice for the water hunters using that. So
Metal Detecting Northwest Wisconsin said, when can we get the waterproof headphones?
That's a prototype pair I just got here to be testing. I got a few of them we're looking at right now. I would imagine here pretty soon they'll be available. We'll make an announcement. Just getting the production going, in the past couple of weeks here on building the first detectors, and the headsets will follow right behind that. I think beyond the headsets will be the first of the accessory coils of the different sizes. So hopefully not very long on the waterproof headsets.
I'd seen a question earlier. Is the VX9 the only one that's shipping right now, or are all three of the different models shipping out?
At the moment, we're building the VX9. Yeah, it's a good question.
Okay.
It's the premier, of the three of the family. It's got the most features. It's what we've been testing the hardest out of the bunch, and that had the most demand from everybody that we saw out there, from the customers and from the dealers. So we expect to initially build VX9, and then at some point, in a matter of weeks or whatever we do, we'll stop and say either VX5 or VX7's going to hit the production lines. But we've got a pretty good backlog of back orders we're trying to work through, so we're going to do the 9s first and then shift gears over to the other two.
Okay. Dave Crookshank said, it's finally checking in. It's my birthday. Great idea for a free detector, hint.
All right. Well, Dave better get the code right.
You better get the code right. Yeah. And just to remind everyone, we are doing a giveaway tonight of one of the new VX9s. And in a minute, Tony will be letting y'all know the special phrase to type into the chat. And you'll do that once. You can do it more than once, but it'll eliminate any duplicates. And then we have a special random picker automatic computer thing that will pick out the winner. So we'll do that a little bit later, but maybe Tony, in a little while, you can release the special phrase that pays. So sorry, Dave, no birthday present for you unless you get that phrase. Right?
It could be.
Could be.
Yeah. Right.
Never know.
Got to think positive here.
That's right. Positive thoughts. We had a lot of questions rolling in. Let me see. Let's pick some of them here. Does the Vortex, go ahead, throw it up. Is that it? Yep. Does the Vortex have a built-in light for night hunts? 508 Magnets wants to know.
It has a built-in backlight for the LCD for the screen itself, as you've probably seen with AT Max or Apex. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have a flashlight per se on the back of it, but it does have the backlight. I've done a good bit of beach hunting at night in Florida, and I use that a lot. It comes on automatically as you scroll through the menu options to make changes on that, but then it turns off if you don't have it set to stay on. But for me, it's an absolute. If I need to twiddle with some controls, I want to have that backlight at night. So yes, it does have built-in LED light.
Yeah. So
nice.
Go with this one there. Keith McDaniel wants to know, what is the water depth?
It is rated to 16 feet, so a little bit deeper than AT Pro and AT Max. And we actually added a dive lock or a button lock feature to it. If you go check out Garrett.com, we've got a few videos on basic Vortex operations. And one of those, I went to one of the local pools that actually has a 16-foot depth, and we showed how to triple press the buttons to lock the keypad, and then you can't make any changes to it. But generally, if you do a lot of water hunting, especially in the rivers or the lakes, I kind of get my setup the way I want it. And unless I'm hitting a super amount of trash or something odd, I don't really fiddle with that. I just hunker down and start trying to find the jewelry or trying to find the coins.
Yeah.
So at the shallow depth, no problem. You don't need to worry about that. It's more as you go deeper, the water pressure on those softer membrane buttons could depress them or lock them up. So instead of that, you'd rather lock up the buttons once you get your settings done, and just keep it that way while you're down there. And when you start coming back up, or if you need to make a change, unlock them, make your change, lock them back up, and you don't have to worry about a inadvertent button press.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a great feature.
That is a great feature. That's cool.
Thinking of everything. I like that a lot, for sure. Let's see some more questions coming in. How about, let's go to Stacy R. What type of battery is using the Vortex? And I want to add to it, about how long is that battery life on it?
It is a built-in lithium ion battery, so it's a rechargeable. I think it's a little more powerful than what we probably had in the Apex. So you just plug it in through the USB-C port on the back and put it into your outlet. If you look at our quick start guide or our user manual online, we've got recommendations on using a good quality recharger. Your little iPhone bricks are a little bit weak, lower wattage and volts than they probably need. I think over time, the recharge time will probably improve and increase on that. But what I advise is when you get your Vortex, go ahead and plug it in, just pop it in, go to bed, let it charge overnight, make sure it's full the first day. Some electronics, even like you get a new phone or something like that, it may show fully charged when you get it, and then all of a sudden it doesn't last but an hour or two. That battery, it's got to get conditioned. You got to give it a good charge to get her going. And especially if you get one, want to make an update right off the bat, you need to have at least 2 good bars of charge power on there. So I always recommend just plug her in and give her a good long charge before you do an update or your first hunt, so you're not surprised. I've had electric razor, you plug it in, and first time you get it, it looks like it's charged, and it needs a couple hours on it to act fully. So,
yeah.
But as far as runtime, we say in the manual, average or approximately 15 hours. I went to Florida recently, hunted several hours every night for 4 nights and never plugged it in to recharge it. It never went dead on me. So I know I got at least 12 hours or more out of it without killing it during that time.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's always great having those rechargeable batteries, man, because you can even bring like USB banks with you, those rechargeable banks with you, and never have to kind of worry about that.
Yeah, and it's all relative. If you get out there and you've got many hours at night, like I'm doing with the backlight running, or if you're using wireless headsets like I was doing, you turn some of that stuff off, you may gain a little more extra time out in the field with just plug in and go headset,
Yeah. Larry Stevens said he found 3 tiny cuff buttons with the VX9 that had been hunted by several hundred people. So it's still stuff out there in between the cracks, and you're able to find it. That's great. What do we always say here, Tony? It's about inches and angles, and having the right machine and knowing how to use it. That's the most important.
That's cool. Congrats on Larry. He's got one of the early units and he's out there using it. So hats off. Love to see throw some posts up to us and put them out there for us to check out. We'd love to see some of these early finds coming in. We'll share some of that stuff for sure.
Larry recently had an amazing find. He found that Morgan dollar. We were going to have him on here to talk about it.
With Loy. Yeah.
Yeah. So what about this cup holder attachment right next to the toaster that Ohio Relic Hunter keeps talking about? Is it on there, Steve? Is that an optional attachment?
I'm looking for it. It's going to be back here somewhere, right?
Oh, it's a shot glass holder, I think. That's what.
Yeah, there's the back of her right there. But
see it. Bill.
Maybe this is a cup holder down here. I can put my drink in there and take it out to the field.
That is great. That looks like it would work.
That's on the updatable version coming up here pretty soon.
That's the VX10.5. Yeah.
This Steve Moore edition.
10.5.
Wait for that one to come out. Yeah, keep asking your question. Tony and I are watching for him. We've got a bunch tagged, so keep on sending them in. That's great. Hey,
yeah,
Steve,
cool to see some Civil War relic hunting going on out there. I've had a couple of invitations recently to go to Louisiana and Mississippi and some other places, and like dying to get out there and do it. So
yeah,
are you like us?
Absolutely.
You're a relic hunter at heart. I know you probably are.
I am. I'm a history buff, so I like the relic stuff. I mean, I could dig mini balls all afternoon. It's crazy, and it's like, what's that for? And we always joke, like, wherever we go, it could be England, France, Ohio, wherever you go, I always dig at least one musket ball wherever we go. And sure enough, we're up there in the prospecting region in California, and like the third day, I'm digging a good signal, and I was happening to be using the Vortex at the time just to check it out. What do I get? A musket ball from the 1800s.
Right. Tony and I are the same way, man. We can dig mini balls.
All
it never
day
gets
long.
old. Eagle buttons,
Lead. I love
general service eagle buttons all day. Absolutely.
Yeah, Bill's telling you to stay out of Ohio. Yeah. He tells us that too.
There's
nothing left in Ohio.
Nothing left in Ohio. That's the thing. Yeah.
All right, I'll stay in Texas. I've been warned.
So let's talk about updatable versus upgradable. So we hear those terms thrown around about the Vortex, that they're both updatable and upgradable. Let's talk about the difference.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of the Vortex series. It's what I kind of call a smart detector, in that it can keep learning and keep being updated and upgraded. Updates are free. There was some rumors early on that, Garrett's the only one to charge for updates. What a crime. No, the updates will be free. And I would expect one relatively soon coming from us on this, even though we're just getting them going. There's still some tweaks and some changes we're going to make and will be making. We listen to our customers. We always have. And with this series, it's a patented, the world's first fully upgradable submersible series. And to tell you the difference in a nutshell on that, an upgrade is taking the machine to the next level. It would be like taking your AT Pro without selling it and turning it into an AT Max. The chassis, the hardware is the same. You can switch out the coils, the cuff, the control box, and all that's there, but it's what you put into it, gaining more power, more frequencies, just, more depth and everything else. So it's changing the performance.
Yeah, that's such a cool cool feature, man. Because you got the same machine in your hand. You're just gonna pay a little. But
with the updates on that, I expect pretty quickly to have an update that's going to go out. We listen to folks. We're watching what's going on out there. A few people want to poke at this and that and the other. So I think, in fairness, there's a few things that could be tweaked and will be. So I would say look for that pretty soon coming out.
Yeah, some people in the chat were talking about some VDI numbers. Struggling with some VDI numbers and stuff, and you just don't know kind of where that's all coming from. But like you said, you listen to users and you welcome that kind of feedback, right?
Yeah, and this next update that comes out will address some VDI issues. I think you'll also see some improvements in iron unmasking or masking, depending on which way you look at it. But it's already got bottle cap reject and iron boundary, but within that there's going to be some additional finessing. So we'll go more specific into what those are once it gets released, but look for some improvements there for sure.
We had some questions earlier about how it does in the iron. So you said it does have the iron bias, or what do you guys call it? The iron boundary? Is that what you're calling it?
Yeah, the iron boundary. If you look at the VX9, there's a 3-tiered target ID scale. And the lower scale is basic or simple iron, if you will, nails, screws, stuff like that. And then the upper scale is bottle caps or washers or tricky things. As you know, a big axe head laying on its side out in the field gives you one reading, but if you stand it up, you get a different reading. So depending on what types of iron you hit and how you encounter it, you need some different controls to work with it. So in the midsection is kind of your good stuff, your non-ferrous from about 40 to 99 on the target ID. So you can move the needle, if you will, up and down to adjust the tricky or the simple iron and to help separate stuff. And there will be additional adjustments available made with that. And I see what is the iron boundary. That deals with, as I was saying, there some of the tricky iron. When we first tested it in England, for example, there were like round blobs, like a big tractor bolt or something that's roundish or just odd shaped that could give a good signal in multi, whereas in single frequency, it was inherently usually pretty much a grunt or a bad signal. But to break up some of those, you've got additional controls where you can change how these things sound. And generally I use just as little as I need, just like iron discrimination. So if I can do it with a 1 or a 2 and make those targets sound bad, that's the way that I would go.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, and then Metal Detecting Northwest Wisconsin came in and kind of stole my thunder. I bet that users of the Vortex are really liking that 3-tier display.
Yeah.
I would be willing to bet that is a real big draw for that.
Huge feature.
Yeah, being able to see the multi-tier, target display. If you've got a mercury dime or something, it's going to be just solid in the central scale. But if it's a bottle cap or excuse me, something else, you're going to see some up and down different pixels on that screen, kind of like a target tracing pixelized version of that. So that's where you get more information, the multidimensional that we talk about with MDMF.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
Yeah.
Yep. Love that idea. Love that. It's not, it's kind of helping you out, really give you the story, right? It's going to help you with the story of exactly what it is.
Right.
Yeah. Processing that info.
It just gives the user more information to use, because
really
these detectors are just a tool, you know what I mean, to help us enjoy the history we look for.
And the average person that goes out and searches just wants to go find some coins or some jewelry. And there's a lot of machines that do a really good job at that. But as you go to more complex sites, complex dirt, and you get more advanced at what you do, you get into some tricky areas where you need some more finagling of the controls and some more information on that screen to help you out.
Yeah.
I like to say, to make a better dig decision before, dig or no dig on some of that,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We had some questions come in regarding pinpointers and the connectivity to, like a wireless connectivity to the machine or something like that. Jason Weir, is Garrett in the process of making a new pinpointer to complement the new Vortex?
At the moment, we've got our traditional Pro pointers, the 3 of them. The Pro Pointer 2, the AT Pro Pointer, or the Carrot as they call it, and then the Z-Link version, which would connect up to your Vortex or Axiom or Apex or AT Max. No immediate plans on a new pinpointer, but I know there's definitely some interest there. There's some things personally I'd love to see in a future pinpointer. So the opportunity is certainly there.
Mm-hmm. It's tough. I've used the Garrett Carrot since I started, and it still outperforms many other newer pinpointers out there. So it's tough to improve on, in my opinion, one of the best pinpointers out there. So, but yeah, there's new technology, there's new different things coming out. I'm sure the interest is there. The ideas are kind of floating around, I'm sure.
Yeah, I see an interesting question down there from Jeff Nelson.
Yeah.
Haven't tried that, hadn't thought about that, but that's interesting. I mean, one thing I like is the iron volume, so I can hear my iron when I'm in the field looking for a house site, but turn it down. You can obviously turn it off on the iron, and with the target volume, you can actually turn that off too. I've not thought to try turning everything completely off, but I guess in essence there, if you're going to do some digging with your pinpointer out in the wind with the headset on, it should have the option to do that. Yeah. By just killing the iron and the regular target volume.
They're talking about we were talking about VDI numbers earlier, and Squatch Thumper wants to know. No, that's the other one. Squatch Thumper wants to know VDI numbers, are they the same as the AT Max and the AT Pro?
They are similar. They're a little bit different. That's one of the things we'll do with the next update is dial in a few of those numbers a little bit more solid. Some of the higher conductors, silver dollars, half dollars, that kind of stuff. The numbers have a little bit of variance right now that a few people have seen on some of their models. So we'll try to make a base adjustment across the board and, solidify those. At the end of the day, you might see a couple points difference between what a target ID number might be on an AT Max and a Vortex, but they should be very similar. A nickel on a Vortex is give or take around 52, for example. And the quarter is going to be up in the mid to high 80s and the others above that. So very similar, maybe the same on some targets that you're familiar with, but it shouldn't be a complete relearning curve on that.
Again, that 3-line display is really going to be that really extra valuable tool. Tony really liked the idea too. You guys went back to that straight shaft design. I think a lot of users like the fact that you guys did that with the Vortex.
Yeah, I like that too. And in fact, it's got a pin to keep the round rod from rotating a little bit. And there's several positions in there. One of them being back closer toward the cuff area, if you can see that there, which allows you to compress it to a shorter length for diving and underwater use. So makes it very compact,
There you go.
Detecting 307's asking if you could show that. Yeah.
The compact, how compact and swivel the coil to fit into a small bag.
Got the pin in the last position here. So it compacts down to about just under 25 inches on that, compress the coil. And with this, if you're going to operate in the dive mode like this, you do have a metal upper rod. So as a rule of thumb, what I've taught on that is kind of extend this out just a little bit, just a few inches beyond that. So when you rotate the coil back, you don't want any detection as you're moving in the water and going with currents where you could pick up the upper metal rod. Some people love the carbon fiber shafts and all that, but on some machines, like with gold targets and all that, you got to watch out that you're not getting any detection of the rod. So in the manual, we kind of give a rule of thumb, I think, on our underwater operation video. In fact, we touched on how to set that up with a few inches difference versus completely up against it. But yeah, if you're doing cave walls or any kind of tight area like that, it makes it pretty cool. And especially for swimming, you don't want it extended out as far as it could be. But then you can move the pin position from here, back to one of the longer lengths if you're, out chest deep in the waves and using a non-waterproof headset for whatever reason, you can extend it out so the coil's on the bottom and you're just scooping your targets with your basket. So pretty versatile in the setup on operating lengths for people of different heights and different search orientations they need to set it up in.
Yeah, kids can swing it. Yeah, the traveling aspect of it's great for if you. There's so many. No one probably knows more than better than you do, Steve. But there's so many events these days, metal detecting events, especially in the United States. It's just exploded over the last 5 or 6 years. And you like a nice compact, foldable, compactable detector to be able to take with you when you're traveling. So it's great that it collapses. That's definitely a great feature.
Yeah, and I've seen some younger kids that, not very tall in height using it, and it's great that it, collapses down to that shorter length for them,
Yeah.
What about the weight then for kids? How much does it weigh?
Well, with the coil that comes with it, which is, pretty good size coil at 8.5, 11, it's right at 3 pounds. If you take off the coil cover, it's just a hair under 3 pounds. So once you put on a 5x8 or a Viper size coil, it's probably going to be closer to 2.5 pounds than 3 pounds. So for a youngster, that might be a good option to set them up on a little bit smaller coil, both for weight, for balance, and for learning. A bigger coil you're picking up more targets. It's a lot more sensitive. It's easier for a youngster with a smaller coil or for a beginner to learn things.
Yeah.
Great. Hey, everybody listening out there live with us right now, hang in there. We're going to get to the giveaway here pretty soon. But while we're doing that, we're going to need a phrase from you guys in order to qualify and put you into the giveaway. So in the live chat, whether it doesn't matter what channel you're on, make sure you guys type in hashtag VX9, just as you see it on the screen, VX9, hashtag VX9, and type that in the chat. That'll get you guys registered for the giveaway. Type it in 1,000 times. It doesn't matter. You're only going to get one entry. But feel free to continue to type it in. That's fine with us.
Yeah. And no space after that hashtag.
No
Just
space.
Straight up.
Nope.
Hashtag VX9.
Hashtag VX9.
And
we'll get to the giveaway here pretty soon.
Yeah. Good luck to everybody on that. Again, it's pure random picker. It's part of the sort of software. It goes through and picks out all your comments and then randomly picks a
look at the entries popping up. They're going fast. 72, 77.
That's great.
They're jumping right in.
It's probably Birthday Boy just typing it in 77 times.
That's probably it. Come on, Birthday Boy. Yeah, shoot.
91, 95, counting away.
That's right.
So
we're going to get to that
shortly.
Go ahead. Nope.
So there's 3 models, right? You got the VX5, VX7, VX9. Do you want to briefly go over how they differ from each other?
Yeah, with each one, as you step up, you're going to get more performance. You're going to get more frequencies. If you click on Garrett.com, we've got charts to show you what the feature sets are. You start getting your more enhanced multi-frequency controls, some of the iron boundary and bottle cap reject as you get up the line. As you get to VX7, you add the salt mode and the beach performance, which is important for a lot of people that want to hunt at the coast like I do. It's great, the dry sand, but as you get to that wet sand and where you get that chatter going on, the salt mode is really good. This salt mode is even better than the Apex, which has always been praised for being really good at the beach and very quiet and getting good depth. This is even more powerful. And we touched on upgrades a little bit. So you can start with a VX5. And if that's what you want to learn with, or that's all you can afford, you can come back online and purchase a code to upgrade your machine to a VX7, getting more power, more frequencies, more of the modes. And along those lines, if you look at our website on some of the training videos, we have one that goes through all the 15 current menu settings that you have on a VX9. You don't quite get to the number of 15 with a 7 or with a VX5, but you get more abilities, more power as your skills increase or as you can afford it, without having to sell the machine and buy a new one all over again. You're simply paying the difference in what the price would have been out the door if you would have just stepped up in the first place. So there's no real punishment to come back and do that later. You'll see those codes go live on the site once we start shipping VX5 and VX7. At the moment, you see information perhaps, but only the VX9 that's available. But as I mentioned earlier, you'll see update for the VX9 coming pretty quick. Can't tell you exactly how many days from today it'll be, but it's right
Come
around.
on, you got to commit. You got to commit here on Relics Radio, Steve.
As soon as I do, I'll get myself in trouble. I know better than that. I've done this more than a year or two. So yeah.
Not your first radio. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's part of the plan is getting in affordably with a fully waterproof multi-frequency machine that even at the VX5 level, you have single frequency options and multi-frequency operation.
That's great.
And there's some more specialized modes as you get up to the VX9 level, like fast mode and thin coins mode. And some of those come into play with more advanced hunters, people doing the speed searches at some of the rallies where they've got silver hunts or token hunts. Those come into play. You get more ability to adjust things like your recovery speed. The VX5 will have a fast fixed recovery speed, which is already faster than Apex or AT Max to begin with. So to me, that already says quite a bit. Mm-hmm. But as you get into situations where you need to, split the hairs, go faster, you can do so with the 7 and even more so with the 9. So it's more controllability as you move up the ladder.
Yeah, that fast recovery speed, especially with, like I was saying earlier, the number of events that have hit the United States over the last number of years, that's really cool because, the seasoned people that go to a lot of those events, it is a competition. It really is. And that's the way you have to hunt. And, so I think a lot of people are going to like that fact that you can really crank up that, response and swing almost as fast as you want to, if you're only looking to find things that are only an inch down, you know what I mean? Planted.
Yeah. And if you're, it just depends on the situation, the circumstance. It's like, running your scrum all the way to the max. There's a lot of places you don't want to do that, or in some cases never want to do that. You want to hear it all, but there's also some environments where you search, where we do urban scrape lots or something that it's just pure trash and nothing else but trash. And you got to sneak in between the good and the bad stuff. So you've got some Ferris control settings now. You've got some reactivity speed controls on this that give you a better chance of finding stuff where you're not necessarily trying to dig a target 12 inches deep in those cases,
Yeah. There was,
did you talk to, go ahead.
Yep. Oh yeah. So yeah, you're digging it. Brian wants to know, just in your own opinion, like what's the comparison with the AT Pro, AT Max, the new VX9? Where does it fall in Garrett's lineup?
I think over time, the Vortex is going to become the go-to out of this series. I mean, I already know a few guys that have been testing it for a while, and they say, I love my AT Max. I've had my AT Pro for 10 years or whatever, but it's kind of going to go in the corner. Not that I'm going to abandon it, but this has so much more versatility, deeper depth, reaction control, multi-frequency. Yeah, it's wireless. It's got backlight. It's got a lot of these other controls with the multi that are really cool to get into. So the performance is great on that. I think, as I mentioned, with some updates, I would expect us to tweak and twiddle a few things as we go a little further with this, because we're listening. We're listening to a few things folks are saying, and we're going to make some adjustments. And I think it's going to continue to get better. But I'm not going to throw away my AT Pro or AT Max. I've still got a couple in the closet, and I've used them recently.
Absolutely.
But I keep going back to the Vortex. But I will get it out occasionally and get that little 5x8 out, and it's like, come on, Garrett, give me that 5x8 for the Vortex. I'm waiting on that as much as any person out there is. So, but it's going to be a workhorse. It's going to be a versatile workhorse, and like I said, the machine can continue to learn and get smarter over time. And we plan to support it. We plan to support the Vortex series. And there could be an update we hadn't even thought about at this point that could come out down the road, or an upgrade we haven't thought about at this point. And the platform is in place to do so. So that's
great base.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, and if you're just joining us here on Relics Radio, we're talking to Steve Moore from Garrett Electronics, and we're talking about the Vortex VX9, VX7, and VX5, Garrett's new detectors that have come out. If you want to try to win one tonight here on Relics Radio, make sure you type into the chat hashtag VX9. No space in there, just hashtag VX9. Make sure you get your entries in now. That'd be great.
142. Let's get to 150. Come on.
Entrants.
It's getting up there. Tony, did you have a question a minute ago? We kind of jumped over you. I think you were starting to ask something. I don't even remember what it was now.
Oh, yeah, I sure did. Actually, I was thinking the VX5, the difference between the VX5 to the VX9, when you upgrade to each different model, do you get an increase in the depth with those upgrades?
Yeah, you get a little more performance power with each one as you go up and that. So, and obviously the frequencies and the menu items that come with it increase. But yeah, better performance as you go up. Now that said, the VX5 is still a really strong machine.
Yeah.
A lot of good stuff. You get the wireless and the beach mode and a few other key things just stepping up to the 7. But you can start with a 5 and change your mind and jump all the way to a 9. So there'll be upgrade options either way. But again, on the updates, when we put this one out pretty quick, that will be free. And so what you do on that is you set up an account, basically. You go on our Garrett site, go to the Garrett Direct, set up an email and a password account, and you download our Garrett installer, our Garrett updater app. And I've got it on my laptop here. It puts a little Garrett icon on your laptop. And when I need to update my Vortex, and I've updated more of them than I can count in all the events I've been to and all the testing, because invariably I get there and they go, "Hey, we did an update last night." I'm like, I've got 12 machines I've got updated in my hotel room tonight. But I can tell you it's easy to do. Yeah. You plug it in and hit search. It runs through the Vortex real quick and says, "Hey, Steve, you've got VX9. And if it doesn't know your model number, you type in your serial number. It gets that registered to you, so it knows you're the legitimate person. And then it says, "You're good." Or, "Hey, Steve, you've got 1 or 2 updates you can make." And click those, make sure my battery is at least, halfway there, at least 2 bars, hit the button, and it generally updates in 3 to 5 minutes from what I've seen. If you got a slow bandwidth, maybe a little bit longer, but, probably 5 minutes is an average on that. And if you're in a machine, say a VX7, and there's an upgrade available, it will also show you that option too. So you'll have the update or upgrade option if there's anything available for what your machine currently is. It's just plugging it into your laptop and pushing a few buttons and off you go.
Mm-hmm. So there's really no kind of like identifiable model number on the machines. So if somebody was to grab your Vortex and look at it, they wouldn't know if you were holding a.
Yeah. I mean, here's mine right here, just on the bottom. We have videos online that show, where the stickers are, where your model numbers are. When you buy the machine, you've got a serial number on the box, but then all the Garrett detectors are also serialized physically on the machine. Unless you scrape or scratch off that number, you'll have that. So if you don't retain your box or your side packaging, it should be on the machine. And when you do the update upgrade, you just simply key in the serial number, it checks out who you are, and off you go.
That's great.
Some other questions.
I wanted to say, can the Vortex call my wife to let her know I'm running late, so I don't have to?
Mine doesn't work that way. I've gotten in trouble a few times. Like, "You know what time it is? What have you been doing?" "Well, detecting. What else?
Well, yeah, things must be going well if you're late.
She puts up with me to a certain extent, but I've learned, like, we do our beach trips. I go either real early in the morning when everybody's asleep and nobody's on the beach, or I go 10 o'clock at night when the moon's out and nobody's out there to mess with me.
Wow.
And she's not worried about what I'm doing, so.
That's right.
I got $1 million idea for you, Steve. So when we get off the air, remind me to talk to you about it after you sign the NDA, of course. So yeah, you also need like a phone a friend feature on that thing, because I tell you what, whenever Tony and I are detecting, and if we're detecting apart, sometimes we don't get a chance to go out together all the time, but I get this FaceTime call and it's just like, "Dude, look what I found," So
that's a really good detecting buddy that texts you or buzzes you and says, "Hey dude, come over here. I got a hotspot working." Most of my friends don't do that often.
Yeah. Tony's usually the type that goes, beep, beep, beep. "Hey, Ken, I know you're working today while I'm out having fun, but look at the cross sabers I just found. Oh my God. This is a comfy ladder I just pulled out." That's fine though. That we get so excited for each other. I'm sitting in my office, right, surrounded by these office people. I'm going, "Ah!" They all have to run and shoot. A bunch of other questions rolling in. We got a bunch written down too. I'm just trying to decide which ones to go there.
Yeah.
What's the price range? Why don't we start talking about some prices? Copper Joe wants to know price ranges for these models.
Yeah, the ones I probably have in my head easier than most are just the street price or the map price, if you will. So the VX5 starts right around $450. The MSRP is higher than that, but that's what we're seeing on most dealers' prices listed on that. And then you just jump up to $529 on the street price or the map price for the VX7. And then the VX9, I remember both on this one, its MSRP is $699. but the map is $5.99. So that was an easy $100 difference that my little simple brain can actually remember without writing that one down. So for $5.99, cheaper than AT Pro was ever, set out to be. You've got so much more in that machine, and increased depth for water hunters and multi-frequency performance and so much more. So it's a great bargain. But again, start $150 cheaper if that's what your budget allows, and then work your way up. If you get tired of detecting in a month, don't waste your money. But if you find that gold coin or you find that cool Civil War relic and you get the bug, you're going to want more stuff, more performance, and more features. So the opportunity is certainly there.
Yeah, while you're talking about prices, you're digging at Metal Detector says, does that include headphones?
Yeah, and I've heard that complaint from a few on the pricing. There's no headphones included, or there's no second coil. They're both optional. So with this one, it has an 1/8-inch jack. We have some inexpensive, easy stow headphones that are on the website. You get those cheap, plug them in and go. We, of course, have our waterproof headset that'll be released here shortly for underwater users. Or you've got the wireless MS3 headphones that you can use with the machine. But to keep it affordable, we didn't bundle it with other stuff like that. To be honest, it's gotten tough the past few years in America for an American manufacturer. Our supplies are higher, our labor's higher, everything with inflation's higher. So we're not throwing a bunch of stuff in that somebody made overseas can potentially do sometimes and get it at a cheaper price. We'll let the user make the decision. If you want MS3 wireless headset, awesome, we've got them. If you want to go to your convenience store and get a cheap pair of earbuds and plug them in, or get a Z-Link box and go wireless with your buds, it's on you to make the decision. Ultimately, if we'd have thrown in another coil or a headset with it, we'd have probably had to price each one a little bit higher. So we just opted not to do that with this particular unit. And I understand some want it all bundled, but a smart dealer out there can create their own packs when they come to the store and put in a dig and shovel or a pouch or a headset or whatever they choose.
Yeah.
There's a nice nod to you there. Best customer service, hands down.
Amen.
You must hear that a lot.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, ton. Yep.
And I'm sure our customer service folks are going to have lots of questions in the near future, especially if people start to update and upgrade, because no offense, I've dealt with even a number of field testers around the world that have worked on this. And they're like, how do I download that software again? And where do I plug this cable into? Just the most basic stuff.
Yeah.
And we've got some awesome folks over there. Some of them are really good detectorists, but all of them are very patient to work through. I get technology challenged with certain things too, even. So,
do they have the script? Do you have your computer turned on, Mr. Angela?
Push
Tony,
the power button on first, sir.
Oh, now it works.
Oh, it works. Yeah, thanks for the call. Yeah. Is there a way to change
up last night? Oh no. Okay, it's rechargeable.
Oh, you're supposed to do that?
Where the AA batteries go? Well, they don't.
Oh, geez.
They will get any and every question. No offense, but
I've been shoving this 9-volt in. Really
questions you wouldn't imagine.
Do you have to ever change out the internal battery that you've seen?
It should last many years on that. If there was some kind of problem on that, you just either ship it back to Garrett or to any certified service center if you're overseas that handles Garrett. But Apex has been out for 4 or 5 years, and I haven't heard of people having to switch out the batteries on that. So I expect many years of life, just like you get with most other electronics that have a rechargeable battery. Is it going to last 20 years? Probably not. I mean, probably at some point you'd have to replace or upgrade that battery. But when the folks get to that point, Garrett will have a plan to help take care of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
For the people joining us late, last call for hashtag VX9 to get into the giveaway. Make sure you guys put that in the live chat. We're going to be doing that drawing here very, very momentarily. So VX9 or hashtag no space VX9. Put it in the chat right now.
Yep. Make sure you get in on that. We want to give everyone the same opportunity. JP Hunts wants to know, can the Vortex keep diggers from digging up those plates? So that he's been staying so busy lately.
Yes, you just use fingers only. That's how you do that.
That's how you do that.
Dig as long as it takes.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he has been busy, but he does amazing work. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, but a little picture there on his icon. It's like, okay, all right, make us hurt a little bit there.
James Yoder wants to know, does VX9 have notch discrimination or any kind of notch volume?
Yeah, so there's things added since the original debut. If you go look at our menu settings video, it's probably one of the longer ones. It's probably 10 minutes or more. Most of them are short and sweet, 1, 2, 3 minutes. But it quickly rolls through each of the 15 menu items that are on a VX9, among those being notch discrimination. And it's interesting because the VX5, 7, and 9 are all different. So on the 7, you have a 2-tiered system, your iron bar, your ferrous control, and then you have your what I call the good line or the non-ferrous, and you can notch anywhere along the non-ferrous. With the VX9, you have 3 tiers, so you can notch in the upper tricky iron, you can notch in the non-ferrous, in the middle, the good line, and you toggle between those scales. It shows you real quick and simple on our video how to do that. If you try to go to the bottom scale, it's going to go and give you a little warning sign. That means the lower simple iron, 0 to 39, that's controlled with your high-res iron discrim. Like your AT Max, you just hold down iron discrim and run it up from 0 to 12 or 29 or 39. You'll see the bar gray out across the bottom as you increase your high-res iron. So you control that down there, but the tricky iron is independent of that. So if you look at a modes pattern for coins or something, let's say, and you're in the 3-tiered multi-frequency mode, and you've got iron set at, 30 or something like that, you may see the bar this far on one level and a different length on the other, and you're thinking, how is iron not 30 on top and bottom? The 2 different types of ferrous that the multi-tiered scales are dealing with, it's a different animal. So that's why you can control the notching on the upper scale for bottle caps or tricky stuff, and just run your iron discrim with the high-res iron on the bottom. So, yeah, you have a lot of notching ability with the machine there.
Steve, we're getting a lot of questions about the tones. Let me see. Let me put a couple of them up here. How many tone settings does the Vortex have? And then how many tones does it have? I used to love the simplicity of my AT Max. What do you say about the tones on this?
Good question. And again, we listened to customers, and that was not something that was really in play. It was more fixed when we did the original launch of the product and what we planned to do with it. We had plans to maybe make it more adaptable in the future, but since we delayed a little bit on putting it out, we decided to go ahead and roll in a few things that might have come later with updates. And one of those, as you get up above the VX5, is number of tone control. So the VX5 is fixed, like your AT Max, let's say, with a 3-tone palette. You can adjust those tones a little bit with the use of iron audio to change where the mid-tone and the iron tone breaks are. That's a whole nother explanation in itself if you've never played around with iron audio, but there's some neat little tricks with that. As you get up to the VX7 and the VX9, you can choose the number of tones. You can choose 3 tones or 5 tones. And being that menu item is in play or in place, it could be that we add another option to it as we get down the road. Today, as you're in the 7 or the 9, your options are 3 tones and 5 tones, but that's not to say we might not change that later.
There's a couple of questions here that we could probably knock both out at the same time. It talks about let me just find it again. There you go. So will the app be available for both PC and Mac? And also that came from B. Higgles, and Roger King wants to know, is the updated the same as the one for the Apex?
They will both work off the same platform. And so if you plug in an Apex or a Vortex, it will look at your machine and comprehend what you plugged into it. If you actually go up on our area. We have an updates and upgrades video, and informative video there. And it kind of shows you the process, where you find the installer, how you download it, and then what happens as you go through the process. But yes, it will be smart enough to know you've got an Apex or you've got a Vortex with the update that you're trying to do.
Great.
B. Higgles again wants to know, how many program profiles can you save?
Yeah.
Are there certain profiles you can save on it?
You have a custom area on there on the modes, so you can save a custom mode. At this time, there's one, just like you have with AT Max or AT Pro, but potential's there. Maybe we could change that down the road, add more than one profile or custom mode setting, if you will. But at the moment, it's one that's on there with the VX7 and VX9 have the custom in play on those. And that's the thing I said, with an upgradable platform, there's things we can do that not everybody's going to be happy with everything that's on the machine on day one. And ultimately, at this price point, it may not have everything that a $2,000 or $1,600 machine has. Maybe the next series or detectors we release down the road will have more stuff that folks want, but we can listen. And if there's things we need to add, like another tone option or another custom mode, the potential is there to do that with this platform.
Yeah.
With this machine, it's a different LCD. The graphics are sharp on a fixed LCD that you see on certain machines where the icon never moves. It's as crisp and as sharp as it can be. With this one, we can make numbers big, small. We can change what's on the screen, what's given position at any given time, which means we could add a different icon later if we chose to, or some other little feature set.
Yeah. I'm just looking through here. There's a lot of questions. Thanks everyone for typing in your questions. A lot of them coming in.
Great questions.
This is an interesting one. Roger Reed says, are you able to do any tweaking of the settings while you're on the website? So let's say you go to the website and you plug in and you're going to do an upgrade, update, not an upgrade, but an update. Are you able to pick and choose what updates you do? Maybe you don't want to do that new iron bias update. Maybe you want to change this or that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we'll figure that out over time. I mean, right now, when we put up this next update on the firmware or the software, it will go from whatever it is, 2.03 to 2.06 or whatever the number ends up being. Can you go back in later and, for instance, go to a step down on the software because you like the way it operated better? The opportunity is there for that. I can do that on mine just because I'm at a different level. If I need to test something when I'm out in the field, we'll see how that shakes out for the customer set. But the potential will be there if we added some really cool advanced feature that, who knows, if we wanted to offer it to you for a price or for free or whatever, it could be an option for you to add it or not add that feature set. So that's been thought about and built into the platform. So that could exist. I couldn't tell you what day that might happen though, but the opportunity is there.
Yeah.
This question came in earlier from Tara. Says, what frequencies work on the multi-frequency? So I think what they're asking is sort of what's that span when it's running through multi-frequency?
It's kind of like with the Apex. A lot of it's proprietary, and we don't give out all the secret sauce on that. But as you can see from looking at the platform, it goes down to a 5 kilohertz single frequency, and it goes up to 25 kilohertz on the other high end of the single frequency, which 25 is good for little tiny gold or tiny birdshot or small things like that. Your 5 is going to be good on bigger targets, big silvers and stuff like that. 13, 18, those are awesome middle of the road frequencies. But there's a blend of those frequencies with the multi-frequency. And like with the Apex, it probably goes a little above on the sampling of where the singles are and possibly a little bit below. They don't give me the exact specifics, but I know in Apex it was a little bit higher than the highest single frequency went. And I'll go ahead and answer the question now on that. Are we likely to add 40 or 50 kilohertz on this platform, on this machine? probably not going to go higher on the single frequencies, because to have a variety or a family of surge coils work in harmony, there's a lot of algorithms and math that has to go into making everything work with that. And as you really start adding a bigger band of frequency shifts like that, it could be that there's a sub variant of this machine at some point one day that is set for higher frequencies, but I don't imagine this is going to jump up to 45 or 50 kilohertz on the Vortex. It's probably going to be a limiting factor that it won't go that high on an individual frequency.
You guys have other platforms that kind of go after that, right? Like, we're going to talk a little bit about the Axiom here after the giveaway, but that has some pretty high frequency, doesn't it? Because it's made more for that type of searching.
Yeah, the Axiom is a pulse induction. It's got a much bigger, a blend of frequencies. I don't know the exact number, but a lot. So that's what you need when you get to the dirt, where single frequencies or even multis have a point where the ground is going to confuse them. You can go to the beach at Lake Tahoe, for example, where I've been. That is horrific. It's like somebody just shredded aluminum cans and ferrous all together on the beach. And you're either in all metal mode or you're going with the pulse machine to get good depth on targets out there. People that have hunted in Culpeper, Virginia know that the dirt, you can find some mini balls a few inches deep with an AT Pro or something, but the deep stuff, you got to switch to a pulse at a certain point, just like you have to do in a lot of the really nasty red dirt prospecting regions. So there's a place for everything. I feel like the Vortex is super versatile. I mentioned that we did have a guy find our first nugget. Jerry McClellan found that in California with the Vortex. So that was really cool. I found gold out there with the Axiom. So I used a variety of machines just because I go to a different environment. I want to test stuff, but the Pulse is a really good animal when you're looking for tiny gold out there. But when you got a multifunctional, multi-frequency machine, you can take it a lot of different places.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what I like about it for sure. Well, hey, let's do something special here. We're about we're a little longer than quarter after.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Wow, 171 entries. Are you serious?
Very nice. Very nice.
That's good.
It's a lot of support. A lot of support for Garrett. A lot of thank you to Garrett as well.
Yeah, very generous of you, Steve, to come on the show, give us your time, and then also give away one of the VX9s. It's a great.
Hopefully we'll make a happy person out of this. I know a lot of folks have waited a while. A few folks were still waiting on their order to get shipped to them, and we appreciate their patience. Hopefully they're going to enjoy this machine as much as I have, and they'll find lots of cool stuff with it.
We'll have one happy person and 170 not so happy people. You have to come back on and give more machines away, Steve.
There you go.
Once a month for the next 6 months. There you go.
Get me in trouble.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But you didn't give us any proprietary information tonight like I thought you might. So darn it. At least you're going to be okay there.
What you hope. Yeah.
Well, I gave you a few nuggets that we haven't announced on our website or on our platforms yet. So those that are listening, there's some hope for some new and improvement things coming out from us. So keep watching.
Very good. All right, Tony, let's roll this.
Yep. You guys ready? All right. We're going to hit draw 172 entries.
Good luck, everyone.
Good luck to everybody. Actually, we'll just mention real quick.
Yeah.
The winner needs to get a hold of us. So we'll put up an email address that you guys can send your information over to. We'll pass it on to Steve and get you out the Vortex as soon as possible. So
yeah, you can give me the winner info, and
we will.
End of the week now, probably be next week at some point. We'll get an order packed up and shipped out to whoever that lucky person might be.
Yeah, sounds great.
And after the drawing, don't go anywhere. We still got lots of questions for Steve, so stick around with us, spend the rest of the night. But good luck to everybody. VX9, here we go. You ready?
Vortex coming in. Here we go. Who's it going to be, Tony?
I have no idea.
And Mandy's Candy. Ding, 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 ding.
Mandy's Candies.
Excellent.
All right.
Awesome.
Go,
Congratulations, Mandy.
Yep. Congratulations. You just won
Congrats.
a VX9. Vortex VX9.
Christmas came early this year, right?
Absolutely.
You got to come to Colorado and detect with me so I can try it out.
That's right.
You can pick it up from Colorado. That's what you got to do.
Love
I know.
to.
Mandy says, "Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!" Congratulations.
Congrats to Mandy. That's awesome. That's awesome.
And yeah, Mandy, make sure you get a hold of us. Tony, whose email do you want to put out there?
Not mine. I know that.
There you go. DK.
Spam over at DK.
DK at adventuresindirt.com. Mandy, go ahead and send me your contact information, mailing address, all that stuff, and I'll privately share it with Steve Moore, and he'll be able to get that right out to you. That would be awesome. Congratulations again. And since he has my email address up there, and you guys have some good finds you found lately, go ahead and send me some pictures, man. I love looking at that stuff. So send them on over to that same address. I'd love to take a look at them. Very cool. Congratulations again, Mandy.
Yeah, so happy.
Yeah, that's really
All
cool.
right, we got a few more minutes for a few more questions, I guess, right?
Sure do.
Yeah. Yep.
Speed round. Ready? Somebody earlier said you got to come out with a purple pinpointer and call it the eggplant. I don't know if that was strong or weak, but there you go.
Oh, Bill says he's still waiting for the poop emoji icon update for the slaw and pull tabs.
It could be done.
It's an idea.
That's just it's an update.
I bet you'd be the first one to do that.
The flaw eliminator.
Is there any kind of Bluetooth capabilities with it? Road Warrior 72 asked that question. Bluetooth
capable. It's built in on the VX9 version and VX7 with Z-Link proprietary on ours. So you can use a Z-Link box to get your other brand a headset if you want, or you can get the MS3 headset to go with it. But this one is not Bluetooth. It's Z-Link, kind of like your AT Max had been.
So this is a question from X Marks the Spot. Hello, Mark. Pairing with low latency Bluetooth headphones is not for this one right now, right?
No, not going to do that. No, I mean it's already faster than traditional Bluetooth, and you know there's no lag on hitting a coin or a target to where you miss it with the headset. So Z-Link's always been plenty fast, but with this particular series, it is not Bluetooth. It is Z-Link on the set.
We had some questions coming in about sort of aftermarket products. Any plans to have any kind of case for the Vortex? Is that optional to buy anywhere yet?
Don't have anything on the immediate horizon, but we've done a couple of experimental soft packs that I've carried it around with that I think are pretty cool. So if the market shows some interest in there, we may pick that up. But we have the rifle bag, if you will, the long camo case, the padded bag. But this one collapses down much smaller than that. So I've seen a couple other bags that are out there that work pretty well. But it's possible that we could add something down the road that would house the Vortex.
Any kind of software app for your phone? Any kind of like, I don't know, kind of interactivity between a phone app and the detector?
Something like that.
Yes, so similar to that. Like that.
Yeah, good question. At this time, no. You've got the installer updater app that you download to your iPad or your laptop or whatever you use, but not to Apple or Android at the moment on any kind of search app or anything like that. But I do think it's a cool idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just looking through because a lot of stuff came in late.
I know.
Any other color options coming for the Vortex, like a special black or special camo, etc. in the future?
I don't see on the immediate horizon something like that. We did the camo with our Jace Robertson series, and a lot of people think that's cool. Some people like traditional colors. At the moment, you know, blue's the color, and blues power is what we're going with for the short term. But
nice.
We'll listen. You know, if there's a heavy market, anything could happen. You know, we own the Garrett camo pattern, so we could slap it on a pinpointer or whatever we chose if we wanted to. But
Very
then you
cool.
to buy another one if you lost, you know, if you
Right.
too much a pinpointer. They already get lost all the time anyway. So
not the orange color. I tell you, that thing stands out. I love the carrot.
I mean, we didn't even have 30 people digging on the mountain in California last month out there, and I think there were like 2 picks up on the side of the mountain. I found, like, how do you lose your pick? I mean,
Right.
You know,
It didn't fall out of your pocket. I know that.
Yeah.
It did start. I don't know. Sleet, I guess, is freezing rain, and it turned to marbles. So I guess you would call that hail. And I was out there, and Travis, a couple of us were still out there, and it was starting to hurt after a while. So maybe somebody ran off and left their picks on the side of the mountain at that point. But certainly, I've seen a lot of pinpointers left on the hillsides.
Yeah. I'm just looking through. Hey, everyone, thanks for joining us tonight. They were very active in the chat, did a lot of great questions for sure. Steve, we have about 5 minutes left with you here. Thin coin mode. I wanted to ask you about that real quick because that really interests me. Tony and I do occasionally get over to England where they do have some very thin coins there. Occasionally, hopefully, maybe someday find a Trime over here. I know that I found a little tiny gold coin that was pretty thin, but somebody asked a question, can we use halftones like thin coins mode in other modes?
Yeah, so you're asking about how the thin coins mode works?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's designed more specifically for places like England and Europe over there where you have the little bitty Roman coins and the hammered coins. If you've dug them, a lot of the hammies are very small, like, Trime size or whatever. And they read even less than a Trime reads. I mean, they can read on an AT Max or Vortex high 30s, very low 40s on the numbers. There's some, like the Elizabeth coins, they're a little bit higher. They're more quarter size, but they're still paper thin. Just it's a good silver coin, but they read low. So this was set up with kind of a bracket, if you will, of optimized target hits. Your iron targets, like in the, I forget where it is, 30-ish or so down, are very much suppressed. And your super high conductors, like quarter, $50, that kind of stuff, they're suppressed. They're not gone, but it's relative to where you got your volume set up. So it's optimized to report the targets that hit that little magic window, if you will, really well. And the speed's a little bit faster. A lot of your hammies are not going to be that deep. You can choose 0 or whatever you choose, but it's just a cool setup that was made to be kind of a hammered coin mode, if you will. So would I use it all the time over here in the States in a big plowed field? It depends on the situation, maybe in a trashy area. But if I've got the chance of finding a Morgan dollar, it's going to be weaker in its response. So it's geared a lot toward UK and Europe on how that performance is over there.
Very cool.
Great mode for sure. Talk about thinking about, like, the entire market, the worldwide market, and you're adding that into the people over in Europe. I mean, that's just great thinking ahead. I like that.
We've got a lot of fans in Europe and a lot of loyal Garrett customers in the UK. And I generally get the opportunity to go over there at least once a year. And it's just an awesome experience. And it's a different hunting environment. We cherry pick over here a lot. We pick the good stuff from the bad, or, the urban hunters know what to cherry pick. You don't do that over there. I mean, you don't put a U.S. coins mode in play on that machine, because some of your best little hammered coins and gold coins are going to fall right in that little notch window. So you're either 0 or you're very conservative on your iron discrim. And like I said, I like to hear the iron. So I love Vortex has iron volume to crank it down to a low number, but I can still hear that. I just walked 100 acres, but on the 101st acre, there's some stuff growling at me in here. I might want to slow down a little bit,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Very cool. Awesome. A lot of our listeners, they like history. I mean, Tony and I are really into it. I know you're really into it, Steve. Matter of fact, I don't know how many people know you're actually an author. You've authored a number of books. You write a lot about history, a lot about, name some of the topics you've written about.
Yeah, I've done a few books on metal detecting through Garrett, of course, and got to work with Charles Garrett on some of those years back when he was still with us. But I started out with Texas history. I've got an ancestor that was a Texas Ranger, and I've liked living history stories, eyewitness history. So I've interviewed countless World War II veterans, and more recently have been in special forces, specifically with Mac V SOG, with Vietnam. What these guys did, including one of my relatives, they couldn't talk about it for 25 or 30 years, or they'd be punished by the government. Just like we have people operating now that are doing stuff that the three of us have no clue what they're doing.
Yeah.
But to hear these stories and to sit with these guys as they got up there in age, it's pretty remarkable because it wasn't talked about and it wasn't a popular war. But yeah, in fact, I do have a book just out this week. Now that you mention it, it's called, if I can turn it around, Beyond the Call of Duty, The Life of Colonel Robert Howard, America's Most Decorated Green Beret. He was a MACV-SOG warrior, and he was written up 3 times in 13 months for the Medal of Honor. And he ended up receiving more than 50 medals during his 4 tours of duty, and including Distinguished Service Cross twice, which is the Army's highest award, and ultimately the nation's highest award, the Medal of Honor. Wounded 14 times, officially written up 8 times for the Purple Heart, among countless other awards. But these are his stories across defense and covert operations and living through things he shouldn't have lived through, helping to rescue fellow Americans, dropped in by chopper. And if you're lucky, you get pulled out on a string by a chopper days later with whoever survives the mission. So a lot of stuff. I'm honored the family opened up to me and got to interview a lot of vets that served with Colonel Howard. But interesting read if you like special ops or military history. So, yeah, thanks for the plug, and
sure,
check it out.
Yeah, Steve's a great writer. He's written a number of books about World War II and submarine adventures and different of the various submarines that were active in World War II. And he's a great writer. So if you're interested in reading books about history, especially this new one sounds really great. Special Forces, Green Berets. Steve, where can they find your books? Can they find you on Amazon or?
Yeah, any of your favorite sellers, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, they've all got it in stock, audiobook, Kindle, softcover. It's not very expensive. It's a softcover book. So pick it up for a Christmas gift, give it to somebody in the family that actually still reads and doesn't just metal detect all day long,
What? There are people like that, I think.
Yeah. Well, look, we kept you on long enough, Steve. Thank you so much again for joining us. If you don't mind, hang out after the show real quick. We'll say our goodbyes off the air. But final words for you to the listening audience, end users out there listening to you. What would you like to say?
Thanks to you guys for having me on. It's always a pleasure. Thanks to our customers and our fan base out there that's been patient with us this year as we decided to make changes to the Vortex. It's now shipping. Anybody that's got a concern with it, get one and try it out, or wait this next week. We got, an update or so coming out. It's going to improve things even more. And as I mentioned, we will continue to improve the machine. We'll continue to listen to our customers. And I think those of you that get out there and give it a good try, you're going to be impressed. So thanks for that. Thanks to Mandy for being the winner tonight. Look forward to you getting that machine soon. And everybody take care and enjoy your holiday season.
Thank you, Steve. Awesome. Thank you. All right. We'll get to you in just a second. We'll put you in the green room. All right. Great show. Great show. Steve's always a great guest, man. And we had a lot of involvement with people with questions. I was so impressed with the number of questions we had come in today.
Loved it.
Yeah, it was awesome. So thank you, everybody.
Great participation. Yeah. Loved it.
Show, man. What a show.
Yeah. Congrats to Mandy, of course, winning that VX9. Love it. And overall, man, just what an incredible turnout tonight. Thank you so much for all the support. Ken and I do this because we love giving back to you guys, bringing you all the information that we can to the metal detecting community. This show is about you guys, and you guys proved it again tonight with all the questions. Hopefully we got all the answers out there to you. And if not, hey, shoot us some messages offline on social media. We'll get with Steve and see if we get you guys the answers.
Yeah, appreciate everyone joining us tonight. Let's go ahead and get out of here. We'll end it with Steve off air, and we'll go on with our evening and let him get on with his evening.
Sounds good.
Okay, thanks everyone. Thanks for everyone for showing up tonight. We'll see you next Thursday with another show right here on Relics Radio. Have yourself a great.
Thank you so much for listening to Relics Radio. We will see you back here next week for another exciting guest. Until then, get out and dig it all.